Hey, what is up guys, I'm KBHD here, and in my full Moto X review video, I talked about why I think this phone gives one of the best Android experiences of any Android device out there, and this is one that I'll be recommending to a lot of people for that reason. But there are a lot of things that I didn't even talk about in that review video, so I figured I might as well bring a whole bunch of that stuff over here to this one. These are some things that I've learned from using the Moto X for a while now, and some things that I've actually done to my own Moto X. So without any further ado, these are some Moto X tips and tricks. Now, number one is that the Moto X is not just a black or white phone like a lot of the other phones out there. This is a totally customizable phone, so you actually be able to choose between hundreds of different color combinations for the back color, the front color, and the trim color to really make the phone your own. Now, this is starting on AT&T and slowly moving out to other US carriers. And there's also been hints of international availability later down the road, so keep your fingers crossed that that's very soon. But right now, it is AT&T only. This will all be available through motomaker.com, which is the site that's actually live starting today. That's where Motorola will let you play around with and select the color of the front, back, and trim of your Moto X. Now, the thing is, in the store, you'll actually only find the all black or the all white Moto X, because they can't show every single color combination in the store. So what they'll actually let you do is go into the store, and if you decide that you want to buy this Moto X, you can buy a card, sort of a redemption card, then go home, go to the Moto Maker website, and punch in the scratch-off code on the redemption card, and then get your customized Moto X shipped to you in 4 days or less. Now, I'm still trying to decide what color for myself I would get for the Moto X. Right now, I'm between basically these three right here. I was initially just going to do the red and black because I'm so confident with those colors, but it looks a little bit pink to me. It looks a little bit off red, not quite the same red that I'm used to and all the other stuff that I usually do red and black in. So let me know which one you would go with down below, or even better, if you play with the Moto Maker site yourself today, go ahead and drop on Twitter at MKBHD a picture or a screenshot of the Moto X that you designed and customized, and I'll retweet some of my favorites over the course of the next few days. So go ahead and play with those, and I'll check out what you guys make. Now, number two is when you first get the Moto X, or something that I do with basically any Android phone I get, is I have a little routine that I do with a lot of the customizations and the settings, and my favorite apps and games that I initially like to install. Some of these are totally predictable, and some of these are kind of weird. One of the things I always do is go into the developer settings and speed up the animations to do 0.5 times the time. So they're twice as fast, which kind of gives the phone a much faster feel right out the box, and it gives me an idea of just how well the GPU can handle that kind of stuff. And then I like to go ahead and install my favorite apps. Some of the stuff I've got going on right now, I really like the Eye in the Sky app for weather. That's pretty much always the first weather app I install on the device. I read all my news in Feedly now, and something else, I've been getting really into Google Play games, side-by-side multiplayer stuff with some of my friends on Google Play, so that's been fun. But if you want to check out what's on my Android device, I'll leave that as the first link below that like button so you can check out all the stuff I've got going on other Android devices I've used. Number three now is Touchless Control. You're going to want to set this up and at least have it turned on so that it recognizes your voice, because you might not think you're ever going to use it, but it's actually saved me a couple times when I've needed to text someone and my hands are full, or I need to check something and it's hands-free. Now, it's the technology that allows you to say, "Okay, Google Now," and then it starts listening to your voice. Of course, it's going to try to translate everything and put it into Google Now. But the thing is, I mentioned in the review video, it's a little bit slow, has a little bit of a delay in the process. But what's neat is they moved this to being updated through Google Play now. So Motorola isn't going to have to roll out an entire new operating system update just to get you an update to that touchless control, like if there was an update to the skin. But now, if there's something, a bug they need to fix, or a feature they want to add, or an improvement to the process, boom, they just push it through the Play Store and you got it. Number four is the battery. Now, you're already going to get pretty great battery life out of the box with the Moto X, but there are some specific things that you can do with the Moto X and I've learned that you can just extend the battery a little bit more with. Number one, it's an AMOLED display, so all the off pixels are going to be totally black. So using black themed apps and even a black wallpaper and whatever else you do on the phone to use more black pixels, those will actually, in the end, save you a little bit of battery life. Not an extreme amount, but it's worth checking out. I also found the auto brightness on the Moto X to be really aggressive, so I turned it off and actually started managing the brightness manually. The display is always the biggest battery killer, so I just found that I usually have the brightness on max, but whenever I'm indoors, I can bring it down to 50% instead of having it ramp up and down like crazy whenever the lighting changes. And number five is using the camera. Now, I've mentioned that the camera is the most disappointing part of the Moto X, and it still is, but you know what? It's got some time to improve. There are some firmware updates that will probably make it better, but before that even happens, there are some things that you can do to get some better quality, at least more reasonable decent quality out of the Moto X camera. Number one is HDR. You'll find that in the camera, when you swipe into the side and get the settings, HDR is on auto by default. But what HDR actually has to do is take multiple exposures and combine them into one. So I turn that on and off manually. Basically, you can turn on this high dynamic range mode when you're taking a picture of a still object or you're not moving at all. And that'll help you get a lot more bright colors, much more vividness, more detail, and of course, much better dynamic range. But if you're taking any sort of moving shot, turn HDR off. It's going to look terrible. Now also, because of the clear pixel sensor letting in so much more light, you're actually going to get way faster shutter speeds when HDR is off, and you'll find that you can actually freeze action way better on the Moto X than any other phone. Which is actually really useful. So you can actually take pictures of like cars moving by and things like that. Again, turn HDR off if you're going to take pictures of moving objects. But I took a comparison shot between the Galaxy S4 and the Moto X, and the Galaxy S4 took about a 1/2000th of a second exposure, and the Moto X took, I think, a 1/4000th of a second exposure. So you're really going to be able to freeze action when you get a lot of light in the frame. And actually, something I just recently started doing with my Moto X to make at least my Moto X camera experience a little bit better is I started using Camera JB Plus, which is an app from the Play Store, which gives the stock Jelly Bean camera to any Android device. And since the default camera app on the Moto X doesn't let you tap to focus and then recompose before you shoot, I actually found myself using this app a lot to go ahead and tap to focus, make sure everything is composed right, and then take the picture. Again, it's instant shutter. Everything is just the same way it is on a Nexus device when you're using this app. And I actually prefer that. And the images look just as good. They don't degrade the quality of the images at all. So I found myself using Camera JB Plus a lot on the Moto X. There's still no fix that we can do on our side for what I would characterize as sort of muted colors and an overall softness to the image. But again, fingers crossed that that's just a firmware update away. So that's just a little bit more for you guys on the Moto X. I know a lot of you guys have already decided if you want to buy this device or not by now, especially if it becomes available internationally unlocked. A lot of you guys have already decided whether or not you want to pick that up. But I'm looking forward to the suggestions you guys throw for the comments and the colors, and especially the designs you guys make on Twitter. And also, this is a good device for like a first-time Android user. Like I've said, this is going to be great for learning a lot of the AOSP Android tricks, like the two-finger swipe down for the notifications to get to quick settings, the swipe up from the bottom to get to Google Now. A lot of this stuff is going to help first-time Android users really get themselves into a new version of Android, and on-screen buttons and the whole edge-to-edge display experience. It's nice. It's pretty nice. I like this phone. I guess you could call it my daily driver. I pretty much never say that on video, but I've chosen this over the HTC One when it comes to Verizon. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Again, check out the description below that like button. That's where all the important stuff will be for this video. The review video link, the explained features link, the app I talked about, all the other stuff. That'll all be below. Thank you for watching again, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.